Good morning. This morning we're going to look at Charlotte's hath not a Jew I speech, and we're going to answer these questions. What does this extract tell us about Charlotte's character? What does it reveal about the play? And what themes does it reveal? We'll answer them here. Charlotte is a villain. The Jews are given sympathy, and the theme of racism is shown. Bit of background. Right before the speeches in the play, Jessica, his daughter, has run away with his ducats and his jewels and a Christian named Lorenzo. These are three things to anger and upset him. And then, in the same scene the speech is set, Celerino and Solanio insult him. They say that his daughter is not his own flesh and blood, that they are different. And then they ask the question, why I'm sure if he forfeit thou wilt not take his flesh. What's that good for? They're saying, what on earth are you going to do with a pound of flesh? Now the extract is Acts 3, Scene 1. I'd love to present the extract to you, but we don't have time for that, so we'll just go through and break it down. Keeping in mind, this extract is answering their question. He's explaining his motives behind why he's demanding a pound of flesh as well. Okay, first part. Debate fisheth all, if it will feed nothing else, it will feed my revenge. We are learning straight off the bat that Charlotte wants to take revenge upon Antonio. The next part, he talks about how he's been discriminated against, how people have been racist towards him. He has disgraced me and handed me $500,000, laughed at my losses, mocked at my gains. Anything that he does has been ridiculed. If we look back in the text to Act 1, Scene 3, we can see a further example of how Antonio has mistreated Charlotte. Senor Antonio, many a time and oft you call me misbeliever, cutthroat dog, and spit upon my Jewish garbage. Charlotte also speaks for the Jewish nation as a whole. This is where we see the sympathy coming in. You can replace the words, the personal pronouns in Charlotte's speech with other personal pronouns like us, our, and we. Will feed our revenge, scorned our nation, laughed at our losses, he has disgraced us. We are Jews. On to the next part. Charlotte asks a question and answers it himself. What is his reason? I am a Jew. This is to point out how stupid of a reason it is to discriminate against him, just because he's a Jew. No other reason. In this next part, he explains how they are the same, how they are both humans, Christians and Jews. There is no difference between them. The only difference is their religion. And this is where he gets into the nitty-gritty. He's really pulling out the sympathy card, and we are sympathising with the Jews the whole time, the audience. If you wrong us, shall we not revenge? If we are like you in the rest, we will resemble you in that. He's saying, if you are taking revenge on us for things, we get to take revenge on you, because we are equals. We are both humans. He goes into more detail. If a Jew wrong a Christian, what is his immunity? Revenge. If a Christian wrong a Jew, what should his sufferings be by Christian example? By revenge. Same thing. And he's fully getting the sympathy card. We're empathising with him. He's fully backed up his point on why he's taking a pound of flesh. Of course, revenge is sometimes thought as unorthodox, and you should be more merciful and treat others how you would want to be treated. But we know from future reference from the play that Charlotte is not a merciful character. He destroys it with his last sentence. The villainy you teach me I will execute, and it shall go hard, but I will better the instruction. We'll look into it into a bit more detail. So the villainy you teach me I will execute. He's saying, because we are equals, I get to take revenge on you too. The last bit you can't really simplify much more, but he's saying, I'm going to do better than you, better at it than you. Basically, it's very simple. And we say, why? Why would he want to do better? It's completely ruining his sympathy card. No one likes him anymore. He's going to kill a man. Maybe he wants to teach them a lesson. Maybe he wants to outdo them. Maybe he thinks that taking revenge by taking a man's life will avenge maybe all of the Jews and the discrimination against them. So, in conclusion of the extract, we can see that the Jews have been sympathised with. They have our sympathy vote. We look back in the play and we can see that they surely have been discriminated against. But Charlotte has not, because he wants to better the instruction. Wrong button. He wants to better the instruction. At the end of the day, it's a play for a Christian audience. And for a Jew to come out triumphant would have been heresy. Shakespeare probably would have been booed off stage or something like that. So Shakespeare doesn't get the sympathy, the Jews do. Now racism is the thing we get from this extract. In The Merchant of Venice, the focus is on anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is racism towards Jews in particular. A bit of history. Anti-Semitism was there ancient Greece, ancient Rome, before Christianity even came about. It's Jewish doctrine just spread out over the earth. It's part of their scripture. And that's what they were doing. But it seemed everywhere they went, they weren't wanted. No one liked them. They were different. And so then we look into the racism and the anti-Semitism in The Merchant of Venice, and we see it's caused by the Christians. I don't want to go into too much depth, but the reason why there's friction between the Christians and the Jews is because they worship the same God, but they have a different way of doing it. As it was predicted, Christ came and he changed Jewish laws. He took away the rigid laws and left moral guidelines to live by. So you can see why it's been thought about for centuries, this friction between Jews and Christians, and that leads to the friction between the Jews and Christians in Venice and The Merchant of Venice. Racism today and in the past, it's still there. Of course, this is the most blatant image of racism I could find, because people aren't always wandering around in white clothes. They're normal people, like you and me, that dress the same way as normal. It's just the words and the actions that they do. Throughout history, books and movies have been written and produced that either hint at anti-racism, such as The Merchant of Venice, or they explicitly send out this anti-racism message, and Schindler's List is one of these movies. We see the Holocaust, and we only see part of it. We don't see a lot of the Nazi stuff we choose to forget, or try not to think about, like testing on children, and breeding camps and things like that. And because it's a movie, as opposed to a documentary, there are characters, and we become more involved with the movie, and it becomes personal, and the audience is more involved. And that causes them to think about the anti-Semitism. And we really think about how the Jews have been discriminated against. What's even more interesting about Schindler's List is that Armand Goethe quotes The Merchant of Venice. He says half nodded you once. He fancies his Jewish mate Helen, and he's trying to rationalise this attraction. And he points out that they are equals, half nodded you wise, but the tables turn and he ends up beating her because she planted the idea in his head, supposedly. But what's important about this quote is that it connects the racism through time. And we can see that not much has changed. It's still there. No one has learned. History is documented to be learnt from, and it seems no one has done that. I hate to say it, but it's taken almost like a genocide to draw attention to anti-Semitism. This is just Jewish. This is just racism towards Jews, and it still continues in small parts of the world, of course. And that's just anti-Semitism. There's other cultures out there that are being hurt every day. So what's a way of getting the world's attention? It's the first world countries, the powerhouses that can do something about it. Is entertainment the way? Shakespeare used entertainment. It's a huge industry, it really is. And maybe entertainment is the way to get the world's attention. A peaceful protest just angers people because they can't get to work on the morning. Schindler's List is a good movie. Maybe the interest in that will provoke a response. So, in conclusion, Sherlock has bad intentions. Here's a villain. Shakespeare makes an example of what racism can do to someone by Sherlock. We sympathise with the Jews. We see their hurt, and elsewhere where Sherlock has been discriminated against in the play. But racism continues today. Can society possibly be exposed to this racism by entertainment? Is it the way to get to the large powerhouses of the world that can actually do something? And yes, thank you.